Everyone loves their triads, whether it's like this or like this. That's cool and all, but it's already the kind of thing you expect to hear from any guitar player. Today, I'll be showing you how to play triads in a way that nobody else plays, and it sounds awesome. Before we dive in, here's a quick refresher on triads. A triad is the simplest form of a chord, where we have root, third, and fifth. And the types of triads we have are major with root, major third, and perfect fifth. Minor with root, minor third, and perfect fifth. Diminished with root, minor third, and diminished fifth, and augmented with root, major third, and augmented fifth. The big thing we need to pay attention to here is the voicing, which is the way the notes are laid out in the chord. Usually, when we think of triads as root, third, and fifth, we imagine and play these notes in this order, right? Here's what I mean. Here's a C major triad. This is the root, the major third, and the perfect fifth. Right after the root, we have the third, and right after the third, we have the fifth. This is what's called closed position. Now you might be thinking, wow, is there any other way of doing it? After all, if E comes after C and G comes after E, what other options do I have? Well, I'm glad you asked. Check this out. Let's imagine we have the same C major triad. But now we'll skip the third and play just root and fifth. This is step 1. Step 2, we'll be putting the third back in. But instead of putting it in the same place, we'll put it an octave higher. As you can see, this shape is a bit uncomfortable, but you can go ahead and move the G to the G string, and there you go. It looks much better now. This is what's called spread triads, and we can take this idea very far actually by playing it in different string combinations or just adding new inversions. If you don't remember what inversions are, by the way, let's go back to our C major triad here. So far, regardless if we were talking about closed or spread triads, it would always start on the root. So the lowest note in the chord was always the root either way. An inversion is when you have another note of the chord as the lowest or the bass note. We can have either the third on the bass, which is called first inversion, or the fifth on the bass, which is called second inversion. We use inversions for many reasons, whether that's to give a new color to a simple chord progression, or if you want a more interesting bass line with more adjacent notes, or just make the bass player's life easier. In closed triads, the first inversion is third, fifth, root, and the second inversion is fifth, root, third. However, with spread triads, it gets more fun. Since we already have a more spread out voicing in the root position, the other inversions will follow the same pattern. The first inversion will be third, root, and fifth, and the second inversion will be fifth, third, root. Look how awesome it sounds. By the way, I should mention that 52-week Guitar Player is reopening for enrollment in mid-June. We'll only be accepting 100 new students, but more on that later. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, what do I do with all this? Well, once again, I'm glad you asked. Check out this chord progression being played with some simple triads. Now check out the same chord progression being played with spread triads. I played the exact same chords and inversions. I just changed the voicing to spread triads, and you can see how much more interesting and different it becomes. Now here's how it sounds if you add a few more inversions. And you can also play it melodically like this. And mix in some other stuff to make it sound more natural in case you're improvising or something. This is a great way to bring some variety into your solo, especially if you're like most guitar players and only knows the pentatonic. Yes, feel free to leave your angry comment down below. Alright, you're giving me all of this cool information, but how do I practice? I'll show you right now how to start practicing this right away. First, you want to choose a string group. Let's go with A, D, and B for now. Remember the first example? This is exactly that, but one octave lower. Now we'll play the chords from the key of C major, continuing the pattern of spread triads in the same string group. And you can also play those triads in different string groups, such as the low E, A, G, or the D, G, high E. That way you can play, for example, the triads of G major, starting on the low E string. Or maybe the triads of E major, starting on the D string. So even before you start practicing with inversions, you can practice all of these shapes in different string groups, and ideally you will do this in every key. Next step is adding inversions. It's worth noting that sometimes the note that goes in the middle of the voicing can be played in a different string. Take this first inversion of C major, for example. I'm playing the C over E right here, using the A, D, and B strings. The C, which is the root of the chord, is on the D string being fretted by my pinky. Another option is for me to move this note to the G string, so now the shape looks like this. There's no right or wrong way here, just do whatever feels more comfortable for you. An efficient way to practice inversions is to play all of the options in one string group for the same chord. C major, C over E, and C over G. This way you're practicing bigger jumps, which will train your ability to put shapes together faster. I like this for the more mechanical side of things. It can be very beneficial when you're still learning the shapes. But here's a more musical way. Let's take the famous chord progression 1, 5, 6, 4. In the key of C, that will be C, G, A minor, F. If we're playing these chords with spread triads in root position in the same string group, this is what we have. Lots of jumping around, not very practical. If we change the string group though, we can make it a little better. Yeah, nicer, but adding inversions will be the most optimal way, both in energy spent and voice leading. Not to mention it gives a totally different color to the progression. What we want here is to move the notes around as little as possible. So if we're in a chord like C major and the next chord is G major, if they have a note in common, we won't move that note. In that case, both chords have G. For the notes we have to change, we'll just try to move to the closest possible note in the next chord. So in this example, we'll have C going to B and E going to D. Now our G major is in the first inversion. For the following chords in this chord progression, the easiest route will be A minor over C and F over C. And here's how it sounds. You're noticing that the bass just did C, B, C, C, so not very interesting melodically speaking. We don't always have to be so strict about voice leading though. There are many options to try out. This is the time to get creative. You can try something like C, G over D, A minor over E, F. or maybe C over G, G, A minor, F over A. And this is all using the same 4 chords. Now go practice. Explore this using different string groups, chord progressions, inversions, and you have something amazing on your tool belt. Now, if you'd like to learn more from me or some other awesome instructors, consider signing up to the 52-week Triad Player waiting list. We'll be reopening for enrollments in mid-June. We'll open to the waiting list on June 11th and for the rest of the public on June 15th. If you'd like a more personalized guitar learning experience, you can get help from me or any of the other professional instructors that we have. We'll only be accepting 100 new students when we reopen. Sign up to the waiting list now to be among the first in line. You have nothing to lose by being on the waiting list, even if you don't end up enrolling in the program, because at least you have an option this way. If you didn't sign up to the waiting list, you may not even get the chance. What did you think about this way of playing triads? Pretty cool, huh? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, leave a like, and subscribe. See you, Guitar Chefs!